Why do you?
Why do I have the Giants hat? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Why do you always look drunk or tipsy like you need to go take a nap?
Probably because I'm stupid. That's probably the reason why.
Okay, so I don't know how you want to do this. So let's go through this. All right. So on my side, now I'll tell you, you already have me at a disadvantage because as I was reading this, I really had the name kind of backwards. I really thought that more home teams would win than away teams, but I'll go ahead. I'll go with it anyway. So all I need to show is that there's a higher probability and higher chance of away teams winning than home teams. So if we can go down by the schedule if you want, or what?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so we're starting out at Arizona and Indianapolis. That's the first game of the week.
We got Thursday night though, right? Texans and Bengals.
Oh, yep, you're right. I had to flip up. Okay, so Texans at Bengals. All right, so I don't know how you want to score this. So Texans at Bengals. So this, so I am the away team, so that's good. So though Houston had a horrible week, it's still better than the shutout that Cincinnati suffered. So it's Houston at Cincinnati. I'd have to say, if we're talking about one team that's going to make a higher probability of making a better comeback, then I'd have to say Houston. I'm going to chalk that first game of Houston up to, say, a little Hurricane Harvey leftover syndrome and stuff like that. So I believe that they're going to bounce back, much like the Saints did after Katrina when they beat the brakes. I know you probably don't know that term. When they beat the brakes off Atlanta. But I want to say I think Houston will beat Cincinnati hands down.
Well, it's a question of who do you trust more? Do you trust Andy Dalton to have a bounce back week, or do you trust Tom Savage?
The defense,
I trust in Tom Savage or Deshaun Watson. They don't even know who they're going to start out there in Houston. So you have Andy Dalton coming off one of the worst weeks of his career. I actually started him in a couple of fantasy leagues. He got me negative points. It was miserable. But the guy has more weapons this year than he's had in a long time. And he has A.J. Green to throw to. He's going up against a team that's really not that great. I think it's time for them to bounce back. And they're at home, so they have the advantage there anyway. I think this one goes to the Bengals.
So to make sure I understand this right, you're actually going for an Ohio team to win.
And one of them, yes, may not be supporting the other Ohio team to win, because the other Ohio team to win would mean Browns, and the Browns never win anything.
Okay, now I have to disagree with you on that, and that's because I believe on the other side of the football, and I believe that Houston's defense is going to be too much for Cincinnati to handle, and that's just my belief right there. I'm not. Both offenses are kind of so you need to go on the other side of the football. And Houston has a lot better defense than Cincinnati.
Well, if that's the case, why did they allow the Jacksonville Jaguars, led by Blake Bortles, without their top receiver, Allen Robinson? How did the Jaguars get 29 points on them?
That's called a nice new running back that Jacksonville Jaguars drafted from the LSU Tigers, who had an all-time record. So that is something completely. That is something completely different when you're talking about like this new dude that just set a rookie running record, the franchise record.
Mixon. So it's not the Bengals have Joe Mixon. So they have Gio Bernard, they have Jeremy Hill, and Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon out of Oklahoma, who also was setting records back then. So yeah, the Bengals have that same thing. The Bengals will be able to put their trio of running backs together, and the Bengals.
All right, so. Let's move on because I want to see how many of these we're actually going to agree on and how many of these we will disagree on. Okay, so let's go next game, first game of the week, Arizona at Indianapolis. Okay, so Arizona, they lost to Detroit.
I agree with you. Arizona wins this.
Okay.
Indianapolis looked absolutely atrocious last week. They're going to be starting Scott Tolzien again, and it's not going to be good. The team is nothing without Andrew Luck. So if he's not back, and he won't be back for a couple of weeks, so the Colts have no chance, even at home.
Okay, so next we move on to Buffalo at Carolina.
Yeah, I'm definitely going with Carolina in this one. Carolina dominated the 49ers last week. Buffalo
What is
was
the
a decent team, but they're it was interesting to see how good Mike Gillislee looked for the Patriots. And then I think the announcer said something like Buffalo's players look better on the Patriots than they do on Buffalo. And that's absolutely it's like we don't ever think of good Buffalo players because I often forget they have a football team.
Hey, I forgot they had a football team, much like the Cleveland Browns. Okay,
No, I know the Browns have a team because they're so laughable.
Okay, I'm just gonna run through these real fast to see how many we agree on, how many disagree. So I'll say we disagree on that, but we'll come back. So next we have Chicago at Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay.
Cleveland at Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Yep, I'll completely agree with you on that one. That's not even
okay. So if Baltimore was able to pick off Andy Dalton 4 times and hold them to a shutout, what are they going to do to a rookie quarterback who has Corey Coleman as his top option? Browns have no chance.
Okay, Minnesota at Pittsburgh.
Close, but I'm going to go with Pittsburgh.
I agree with you on that one. Okay. New England at New Orleans.
I'm going to go with the away team. I'm going to go with the Patriots. I think Brady's going to. That's right. You're here. But no, you do not want to face Tom Brady after what just happened to them last week with the Chiefs. It's going to be revenge tour. Remember when Goodell had taken out Brady for a few weeks, and then Brady came back with a vengeance? That's
okay. So more away teams. So all right. So you know what? For the sake of this debate, I will agree with you on that. Now, if you want to,
because are you arguing for the home team?
that's because my Saints fan is. In case there's any other Saints fans out there, I just want to say that I completely believe the Saints are going to win. But for the sake of this debate, we're going to go ahead and say the away team is going to win. All right, Philadelphia at Kansas City.
Kansas City looked fantastic. Philadelphia was also looking really good. But, I mean, if Kansas City was able to go into Foxborough and beat the Patriots right now, I would trust them with pretty much any game.
Okay. Tennessee at Jacksonville.
Really close game. I'm not really sure, but it's a toss-up either way. I kind of think that Mariota will show up, but the Jaguars also were really good behind Fournette. So maybe the Jaguars at home, maybe Mariota pulls it out. I'm not sure.
Okay. Miami at the Chargers.
I'm going to go with the Chargers. I was from San Diego, went to school in San Diego, so I would root for the Chargers, which was just absolute torture because that team somehow finds a way to lose in the worst ways every single week. And they just did it again Monday night, having the kick blocked, having that fantastic comeback, and then having the kick blocks. But it's cool because I don't have to root for them anymore because now they're in Los Angeles. So thank God I don't have to feel like I'm
but yet and still, you're still going to vote for the Chargers.
I will still vote for the Chargers because Phillip Rivers, when Keenan Allen is around, Phillip Rivers is a very, very accurate and dangerous quarterback. He was able to make things happen against the Broncos, who have one of the best pass defenses, maybe the best pass defense in the league. So if he was able to throw for 3 touchdowns against the Broncos, he's going to light it up on Sunday.
Okay. Jets at Oakland.
Do I need to say this one?
Yeah, I just.
This should be the most obvious pick of the week here. The Jets, of course.
Yep, I agree. Now, all right, Dallas at Denver.
This is a really close one, but Denver is home. Denver, it has a very solid pass defense, like we were just talking about. Denver looked dominant for the majority of that game against the Chargers, and then they faded in the fourth, but were still able to pull it out. I think this time around, they're not going to fade in the fourth quarter, and I think that Denver pulls this one out.
I swear, sometimes it's like you were watching a different. Your cable must be different on your side, but okay.
Well, what do you see?
All right.
Why you see it differently?
Okay, let's go. San Francisco at Seattle.
Seattle, definitely.
Yeah. I'll actually agree with you on that one. Yeah, that's okay. Washington versus the Rams.
This is one I'll probably go with the visitors. I think Kirk Cousins pulls this one out, and I think that Washington gets this one.
I was ready to debate that one, but you gave that one to me, so I'll take it.
Yeah, you can have that one.
All right. Green Bay at Atlanta.
For the purposes of this debate, Atlanta, but also Green Bay was able to shut down the Seahawks. So if I'm being honest, I think Green Bay looks like the better team. We didn't see the same Falcons from last year. Shanahan is now coaching in San Francisco, so it's going to be different.
So who did you pick for Green Bay versus Atlanta?
I'm just honestly, or in this round.
Okay, all right, whatever. Because we have to go. Because that's the last game. So after that, we'd have to go game by game. Right. Just so you know, right now, we agreed on Arizona. So right now it's 4-3. As in, so far you've given me 4 away and only 3 homes, which is both. That we've agreed on.
Okay.
Except for Green Bay and Atlanta, because you still haven't said one. But I guess you said for the sake of this debate, you're going to go Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm going to go Atlanta for the sake of this debate. One thing I did actually is that they did a projection system.
Okay.
And the projection would play like the game through and crunch the numbers from each team. And while more people were picking Green Bay, the number projection system seemed to believe that Atlanta would be favored in that game.
That's possible, but I will never vote for Atlanta ever in my life. Like, I don't care who Atlanta was playing. Just no. That's just never going to happen. So the first game, okay. So the first game, I guess we could talk about is Dallas versus Denver, and that one we disagreed on. You said Denver would win that one, and of course, for the sake of this, I say Dallas. Now,
you also said going back, we're looking at different cables, so I don't know what you saw that made you think we saw it differently. But
okay, so last week, week 1, Denver played San Diego, and
Monday night
Dallas played the Giants. Now, the difference is, the thing I want to bring up is it is always harder when like the Dallas Giants games, or the Giants between the Dallas, the Giants, and the Eagles. Those 3 teams right there. They are always the hardest team. I guess that could be because these are some of the oldest teams and they've played the most teams, at least played the most times. But those teams always play harder. It's kind of like inside SEC football, by the way, which is another debate.
Which I destroyed you on, but yes.
So we're looking at Prescott versus, what's that other guy's name over there on the Denver side? I forget.
Simeon.
Okay, so Prescott has. I'm just looking at the stats, the Dallas Cowboys stats, what they were able to do on the Giants, and looking at that right there, I don't think, based on the offense that Dallas is running right now, I don't think Denver has the defense to stop them, and that's because right now they have a good quarterback, they have a good running back, and though their receiving core is still a bit kind of one-sided, that they still like to kind of lean on Jason Witten a lot. I can't believe I'm actually talking good about the Dallas Cowboys. But I think just looking at that and looking at Denver, I don't think Denver has the defense to stop Dallas at all right now.
Well, Denver has one of, if not the best defense in all of football. It's certainly one of the best against the pass. The question is whether or not Ezekiel Elliott will be able to turn anything around for the Cowboys. Yes! And the thing is, Zeke is really talented, but
yes,
the Broncos as a whole have a very strong defense, and they're going to be able to stack the box against Zeke and force Prescott to throw. But it's also very difficult to throw on those Broncos because whether at corner or at safety, they match up very well against wide receivers. So it's going to be just a question of whether or not Des Bryant and Cole Beasley can break out against the no-fly zone of the Denver defense.
I'm trying to pull up the stats from last week on Denver. My computer's working a little bit slow over there. But the thing is this. Okay, so when you start trying to stack up the box to try to stop Zeke, then that's going to leave a lot of that. I don't see now. Regardless of how good the corners are, or how good the safeties are on Denver, once you start leaving like one-on-one coverage and basically because once you start stacking the box, then that's taking away from your coverage on some of these receivers. Once you do that, one-on-one coverage to me, and this could be just my opinion, one-on-one coverage never really works out well for the defense. At some point, somebody's going to break loose, and you don't need that. And plus, the quarterback is still a moving quarterback, as in one that has an equal threat that he can run to. And my stats from Denver are still not coming up right now. Okay, there we go. Finally, it's coming up now. It's working extra slow right now. Man. So basically, you're not going to side with me at all on Dallas. You really in your mind, like if this was fantasy football, or say you were betting money on this game, if it was Dallas and Denver, you'd really put your money on Denver.
Well, here's an interesting stat for you. The last 5 times these teams have played, Broncos have pulled it out. I think that same thing happens here. I think the Broncos looked good for the majority of week 1. Dallas looked good too, but I think that at home, Broncos are going to be able to pull this one out.
The last 5 times, who was the quarterback the last 5 times Denver played Dallas? For Denver.
Well, Simeon would have been 1 or 2 of them, and before that it would have been Manning and Osweiler.
Okay. Now, I'll try to move up so we don't spend the whole debate on one game. Let's bounce up to Miami and LA. The Miami versus the Chargers. That one, I'm not 100% sold on that one. So,
well, who do you take? Jay Cutler or Phillip Rivers? Come on, man. It's Rivers all the way. Also, the Dolphins, really? Dolphins on the road against the team that has a comeback players healthy?
Hey, remember I said at the beginning of this when I was making this out, I really wanted home teams, but I made a mistake and put the wrong side. So
that's why I took it. I was like, wait, really? Why would you get the visitors? It looks like an easy week for the home teams.
Yeah, I know. I can't stop laughing. All right, so this is so horrible. As I'm looking at this, it's so like contradictory, and I feel like any real football fan that's watching this is gonna be looking at me like this dude does not watch football at all. It's because I'm trying to like make it. I'm
trying to make a case for the Dolphins. All right, well, I'll help you out here. In fantasy this year, one of the guys who I've zeroed in on, and I got him in most of my leagues, Devontae Parker. I think Devontae Parker is going to have a huge breakout season. Jay Cutler was talking about how he sees Parker as a faster Alshon Jeffrey. And when Jay Cutler was throwing to Jeffrey, the two of them had a fantastic connection. And I think that if Parker can continue that throughout the season, he's going to have a huge breakout year. And it's going to be – they'll also be able to mix in some Jarvis Landry. But the real question is, how much does Cutler still have in the tank? If he has something, him and Parker could be a fantastic connection.
Hey, I'll say there's one I want to cover, and that's the first game, which is Thursday night, which is Houston at Cincinnati. I guess that one I want to talk about because, dude, there is no way. I'm telling you, there is no way Cincinnati is going to win that. Like, seriously, like I'm dead serious. Like, all joking is, come on.
Still waiting for an argument here. So far, it's just, I know, come on.
No, what I'm saying is, okay, so yes, granted, the quarterback situation in Houston is not the best. Okay, I'll side with you on that. But the thing is, last week going against Jacksonville, they had to go against Leonard Fournette. Okay, now Leonard Fournette, you talking about a top 5 drafted running back. Okay, you talking about somebody that set all kind of SEC records in college and has already started doing the same thing in the NFL. Now you can take that, and now we're talking about this week going against Cincinnati. Cincinnati does not have the same offense or same capabilities as a Leonard Fournette. And going off their defense after being embarrassed last week and having some rookie run all over them, I'm telling you, there is no way J.J. Watt is going to let that happen again.
Well, J.J. Watt dislocated his finger last week, so will he play? I think he's listed as questionable, but even if he plays, he's going to be hampered by that. That's going to be on his mind. So it's not going to be the normal J.J. Watt we're talking about here. Also, I think the main thing that you're going to see in this one is Andy Dalton's going to bounce back, because Andy Dalton is someone who was playing at an MVP caliber before getting injured. I can't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago. But
hey, we'll just agree to disagree on that.
Well, here's the thing.
We'll agree to disagree on that.
On the one hand, you have a good defense, which is the Bengals. The Bengals have a solid defense. And then you have a pretty strong defense with the Texans. But then it comes down to the offenses. Who on those offenses do you trust? Do you trust Andy Dalton to have a bounce back week the same way he did for the majority of the first half last year? I do. Or do you trust Tom Savage and Deshaun Watson? I certainly don't. So for this one, especially since the real difference maker, if you think it's going to be close, usually you want to go with the team that's at home because they're going to have the fans behind them. The fans are going to be cheering for Dalton to have that bounce back week, and I think he's going to have it.
I'm looking up stats right now. I'm looking up stats. Man, you know, I always tell you I hate like debating anything with you anyway, because you're pretty stubborn on anything anyway. All right. So I'll just say this. I completely think you're 100% wrong about the defense of Houston being able to stop the offense of Cincinnati. And I keep harping on this because, like, man, it seems.
Wait, so you
all right?
Will stop?
So I'm just saying this. All right. So you're looking, man. I'm looking at the stats from last week with the Bengals against the Ravens. All right.
Oh, and yeah. You're saying 4 interceptions. He had negative fantasy points. Tell me about it. I started him in a couple of leagues. I felt it.
So I can't understand, considering the week that Cincinnati just had, scoring a big whopping 0 on Baltimore and combining like 2 running backs for like 96 yards rushing. And basically, like, I'm looking at the stats and it's like, man, that is like first quarter stats for almost any other team right there. And this is the team that, statistically speaking, just going off the stats that they had, and the stats, there's no way Cincinnati is going to win that one. But all right. So
do you think that the Patriots are going to give up more than 40 points again? Sometimes aberrations happen. Sometimes teams have
do not compare Cincinnati to New England.
Oh, I'm comparing having a bad week to having a bad week. I mean, Andy Dalton had a bad week, but that's totally out of the norm for what he's normally like.
Okay, so you're putting Andy Dalton and Tom Brady on the same level?
Andy Dalton and the Patriots defense, not really Tom Brady, but yeah. No, because the Patriots defense last year had the least amount of points allowed against them in the league. And then week 1, they give up over 40 points to the Chiefs. That is something that's an anomaly. It's not something that we should expect to happen more often. In the same way that Andy Dalton having a week with 0 points, 4 interceptions, that's an anomaly. And
but that's because Baltimore historically always has a good defense. They always do. And so that's Cincinnati with their shaky offense going against a team with a good defense. Now you're going to put that same shaky offense against another team with a good defense. And you're saying that this week is going to be different than last week. And it's like based off of.
Well, I mean, who do you think is going to be picking off Dalton this time around? Who do you see with the Texans who's going to be making the interceptions? I don't think they have a particularly strong corners or safeties with them. I mean, they have a good defensive line and linebackers, but I don't see them being able to cover AJ Green, especially since AJ Green's going to be back this week. Last week, obviously, he, like the rest of the Bengals, was shut down, but he's going to be out for Pride this week, especially in front of the home crowd. He's going to be looking to make it work. So is Tyler Eifert. The Bengals running backs are going to get in this mix. Dalton will have a bounce back. I don't see any reason to expect the same thing as what happened last week.
All right, so I agree with you. Moving on, I agree with you on Buffalo at Carolina. As much as I'll agree with you on that one. Chicago at Tampa Bay. All right, Chicago at Tampa Bay. I'll let you talk why you think Tampa Bay is going to pull this out.
Well, it always starts with the quarterback. Jameis Winston has been very solid during his time here. The Bears are one of the weaker teams in the league. Last week they looked good with Cohen, the rookie running back they just got, which reminds me, I think maybe I got him in some league. I don't know. I put in a waiver claim for him. But the Bears will be decent, but there's not enough talent on that team to stack up against the Buccaneers, especially since the Buccaneers are going to be looking to perform after not having a game last week because of the hurricane. So this is essentially their season opener. Actually, it is their season opener. So we're going to be seeing that connection that we saw last year of Evans and Winston. And the Buccaneers last year were actually a pretty good team. I think they were only a game or two out of playoff spot. And I think we're going to see the same. We're going to see a step forward from them. They've improved both offensively and defensively this year. And the Bears really haven't. The Bears are still going to be starting Mike Glennon. I mean, there's just not a lot there for the Bears. I don't see them being able to do it, especially on the road.
I really wish I would have put the names the right way.
You know I'm right.
Hey, I am trying to pull a miracle out of a hat right now. So this is what we're looking like right now on the schedule. All right. So right now, one home teams, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that we've agreed on, and then there's 4 away teams that we agree on. Now, I'll tell you this: I am not agreeing with you on the Houston and Cincinnati game.
All right,
and
wash.
Yep, and honestly, the Dallas at Denver game. Now, with those two right there, I believe that it would be 6-6. But of course, you don't want to give up Dallas and Houston.
Well, I'm not giving it to you. We can call them a wash if you want.
Man, I'm color coding all this. Just all right. So
I like that Matt posts in the comments under here that he will confirm that I started Andy Dalton in last week. So it was funny because Rivers, with his 2 touchdowns that he put up on Monday night, got to, I believe, 17 fantasy points. And Dalton had -3. So had I started no one in the quarterback spot, I would have had 3 extra points. And if I had started Rivers, I would have had 20 extra points. I lost by, I think, 17. So had I started Rivers, I would have wound up winning that one. And that hurt. Damn it, Dalton. Why you got to do that to me, man?
Okay, so let me ask you this question, all right? So, serious question. All right. Kansas City last week against New England. Do you think that was that is like the future, and that is how uh, that is going to be the Kansas City. You know, there's always one team that does all right the year before, then the next season after that, all of a sudden they do like really, really, really good, and they come from nowhere. Do you think the reason why I bring this up is because we're talking about Philadelphia at Kansas City. So Philly at Kansas City, both teams won last week, week 1. However, Kansas City did win rather convincingly.
Well, Kansas City put up the most points in, I believe, the Bill Belichick era in against the Patriots. That was a dominant performance. And
I need to
do that not only against the Patriots, but in New England. They went into Foxborough and did that on national television. That was an impressive win for them. And the thing about the Chiefs is I actually think they might be a little better than what we saw because they were up against the Patriots, who have a very good offense. I think that their defense will show up even more against a team that doesn't have Brady and Brandon Cooks and Rob Gronkowski. I think the Chiefs' defense is going to be even more solid against the Eagles. And will that offense be the same in the future? Probably not quite as good. I don't think they're going to be putting up 40-plus points every single game. But Kareem Hunt looked like a star. In his college career, they said that he had not had one fumble, which is an impressive stat. And he's clearly got hands. He's got moves. He was able to catch the ball out of the backfield, scored 3 touchdowns. He's Jamal Charles in his prime. And if you have Jamal Charles and then you can pair that with a solid tight end like Travis Kelce and with Tyreek Hill. This was the other thing I was noticing is they would line Tyreek Hill up, and they used him as both a running back and a wide receiver and sort of a gadget play, but they were using him in multiple different ways. He didn't feel like just a gadget. You would watch the defense having to switch onto him and switch everything just to watch Hill. And it didn't even work. He still got free for, I believe, a 78-yard touchdown. So when you have Alex Smith, who's looking down the field, maybe we haven't really seen that in Alex Smith's career, but obviously he can do it. So with him looking down the field, having weapons like Kelce and Hunt's and Tyreek Hill to change things up for the defense, that offense is going to be putting up a lot of points every week. And the Kansas City defense has always been solid, and I think we're going to continue to see that.
Okay, so let me say this. First, I want to correct your stats a little bit. Just when you were talking about that may have been the biggest loss in like the Belichick era. There is one that's a little bit bigger than that lead right there, and that was in 2009 when New England played New Orleans in New Orleans, and it was a 45-17 victory that the Saints had. Just throwing it out there. I kind of keep up New Orleans Saints stats. You know, call me a fan. Anyway, but as I'm looking at the stats from last week on Philadelphia, and all right, this is where I have to be real with myself here. I think I don't want to say that it's a wash, but I really think that this game is a hard game to call only because it's week 2 in the season. I'd love to say that I really think I don't want to say Kansas City was like a fluke, that this was like they had one good game left in them and they did it and they beat New England and now they're going to do good. And I know it is in their favor because they are at home for this game.
So you agree? I love how your entire argument there, you're like trying to justify your side and you're actually proving why you're wrong. All right, let me follow up on that a little bit. The Chiefs just did this in Foxborough. They went into probably the hardest place outside of maybe Seattle, and they beat the Patriots at home. Now they have their own home field advantage. Arrowhead and CenturyLink, Seattle Stadium, they're the 2 loudest stadiums in football. Arrowhead is a huge home field advantage. And if they can come anywhere close to what they just did on the road against the Patriots, who were supposed to be the best team in the league, they will easily win this match.
I hate you. All right. All right. God. Man, you know what? I'm gonna make sure Yaz knows that this doesn't go on any official count of debates that I might have won or lost, because I kind of typed this wrong. But so the next game, and you know what? I'll just call this. I'll call this real, even though I'll just see to the point that more home teams have a better chance of. Look, the votes are going the other way already. Stop. Stop
voting. Matt. There's just one vote. Thank you, Matt.
Okay. So Jacksonville versus Tennessee. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Bring it back. All right. So, okay, Tennessee at Jacksonville. I think there's basically no way Tennessee is going to win that unless Fournette gets hurt, which I don't think he will. But as long as Jacksonville has a plan, because the thing that LSU always did wrong, they started depending on Fournette too much. So when defenses basically stacked the box and Fournette was unable to run, they had no other option. So as long as Jacksonville, which Tennessee, it doesn't matter. Tennessee, man, it took Alabama to stop Leonard Fournette in college, and he's stronger than he was in college. In Tennessee, I think Alabama would beat Tennessee in a real football game. So I guess I might be agreeing with you. I'm talking about
Tennessee on the road. You're proving my point.
I know. I'm being honest. I know.
You have a really good argument you could make here. Tennessee is one of the sleeper teams in the AFC. You could make an argument off of Mariota.
Thank you. No, because I can't. It's like if my mind is saying Jacksonville, it's kind of hard to convince my mind to make a case for Tennessee.
Do you think Jacksonville wins this at home?
Honestly, yes. Like I said, I'll just now.
Well, we're flowing that my way. All right.
I know.
This is one I would have called the toss-up. I think that the line on this is Tennessee is actually the favorites by a point and a half. So this is one I would have thought would have been very close for you, but Jacksonville was very solid in their first game, but going into the year, there were a lot of questions about Jacksonville with Bortles. There was talk about benching him. In fact, in the preseason, they started Henne over Bortles and weren't sure what they were going to do there. Fournette has obviously taken a lot of that pressure off. But the other thing about Jacksonville, they just lost Allen Robinson. He went out with an ACL tear. He's out for the year. But I will follow up on that, which is that I saw some stats on this. When Bortles is targeting Allen Robinson, even though Allen Robinson was supposed to be his top guy, Bortles' completion percentage and overall quarterback rating is actually below league average going towards Robinson when Robinson is on the field. Well, when Robinson is off the field, Bortles turns into a league average quarterback, probably because he no longer zeroes in on his one target and he can instead look at Allen Hurns and Marquise Lee, and it makes him a better quarterback when he doesn't have his safety blanket. So actually the loss of Allen Robinson could make Bortles turn into a better quarterback overall. And with Fournette to take some of the pressure off of him, I think we could certainly see Jacksonville do this one, especially since they're at home. And there's always the advantage of being at home.
And I know this is probably completely confusing anybody that's watching the debate right now, because basically you just said something positive for Jacksonville, well, for Tennessee, and yet I'm about to say something positive for Jacksonville.
Well, I was just honest. I think it's a toss-up, but I think Jacksonville could certainly pull this one out.
This is another, to me, this game right here is another, when you say it's a toss-up, I agree. It's another one of those games that I wish there was more, like, say this, if I'd be able to make a more concrete decision if, say, this was like week 15 or something like that. Because it's kind of hard to say how Fournette's going to hold up, how defenses are going to adjust to him and stuff like this. Because it's easy for this running back right here to run all these kind of yards the week one when he's a rookie and people don't have a lot of tape on him. But, like, when I look at Tennessee's stats, do you know Mariota was the number 2 rusher this last week against Oakland? And anytime your quarterback is the second leading rusher on your team, That means your team has some issues right there. You're
Well, no, because Mariota's done that since college. I mean, even at Oregon, he was putting up some really big rushing stats. He's an athletic guy, and that's part of their offense. And that's, I mean, to be completely honest, Tennessee has a very good rushing offense because they have Murray, they have Derrick Henry behind him, and then they have Mariota, who defenses do have to respect Mariota, and he can beat you with his legs as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm being nice to you. We can call this one a toss-up. I do think Jacksonville pulls this one out, partially because Bortles will be a better quarterback with honestly without his safety blanket, and also because Fournette looked very strong. The Jacksonville defense only allowed 7 points, so I think Jacksonville at home should be the favorite in this one.
okay. So the only game we have left open in 4 minutes is Miami at the Chargers, and that's one we didn't agree on. So if you just go ahead and just say Miami.
Lions at Giants.
Did we not talk about the Lions?
I don't think we did. Lions at Giants is an interesting one. The Giants are 3.5-point favorites. And
where's that game at?
What was that?
I don't have that one on my schedule.
Yeah, it's because it's Monday night.
Oh, it's all the way at the bottom. Okay, I didn't see that one. All right, go ahead.
That one's going to be a close game, but I think that with Odell Beckham back on the field, we're going to see the real Giants offense. We didn't really see them recently. Brandon Marshall can go into his supporting role, and as a number 2 wide receiver, he will be very dangerous because you don't want to have to deal with Brandon Marshall as a number 2. Sterling Shepard, very dangerous. And when Odell Beckham is on the field, it changes things. He is a difference maker. And I think that with him on the field Monday night, we're going to see the real Giants we didn't see last week.
Do you know what Manning's stats were on last week? As we talk about the real Giants, I guess with the real New York.
I think it was very mediocre, honestly. But he also didn't have the ability to pass it to Beckham because Beckham was out. And when you're missing an MVP caliber type player, that changes your offense entirely. But once they put Beckham back into his spot and they can slide Marshall over to the 2, put Sterling Shepard maybe on the other side or slide him in the slot, that's an offense that's going to be scary.
Okay. And you are tracking that the Lions won their game last week, right? 35-23.
They did. And David Johnson, who is the entire offense for the Cardinals, got injured. So not much of a victory there because for the second half of that game, they didn't have to deal with the Cardinals' biggest weapon.
But they put up 20 points in the fourth quarter, though. That's the offense. That's not the deep. Say what?
It's garbage time.
Garbage time. No, they went into the fourth quarter losing, and you can say that the Cardinals had lost their quarterback, but they went to the fourth quarter. And they were still winning. And Detroit came back and put up 20 in the fourth quarter to take the game back. Now, you cannot sleep on Matthew Stafford. And man,
I had Stafford in fantasy last year. I agree. Stafford's a decent quarterback, and him with Jim Bob Cooter, he's been very good. But in this one, the real threat is Odell Beckham because the Giants with Odell Beckham are a completely different team. And when you think about it, the Lions don't have that sort of star power. There's no one of an Odell Beckham type. The top Lions threat Golden Tate and Amir Abdullah, and that's just not going to cut it. So having a difference maker like Odell Beckham on the field is going to make that one work. We had one more to go through, right?
This is another one we'll have to disagree on because, well, like how you just kind of just brushed off Golden Tate, like his name is John Mitchell from he just came from the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, Golden Tate's good. Golden Tate's good, but he was not a superstar. Golden Tate is a safe option. But so overall, let's just go back over because we have 15 seconds. It does seem clear. I don't even need to do this. But you agree with me. You already know I'm right.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure once again, and I